Hello everyone, today we're going to look at a few additions to our TV, movie, and book collections. First up, a book that Amanda got me recently, my sister Marilyn. It's a Marilyn Monroe book that I do not have, and I have quite a few. And the one thing that's interesting is that it's not a typical one that would be in my collection, because a lot of the books on Marilyn Monroe are a lot of biographies that are very much a person completely unrelated to Marilyn in any way. Maybe a fan, maybe sometimes there's some out there that are printed by more like amateur writers or more professional ones, but more the typical biography that you would find, or the endless supply of books talking about the topic of Marilyn's death, and many different perspectives on that. So this is something a little different that was really an interesting read, and something that I grabbed, a brand new Star Trek Deep Space Nine book, Revenant by Alex White. And Deep Space Nine, just happy that there's actually some stuff still coming out in relation to Deep Space Nine, so that was really cool. And then a few more things, another Star Trek thing to add here, the DVD reprint of Season 7 of Voyager, grab that, and like a lot of the newer Star Trek media, there has the Discs Made in Germany sticker on the back, because the German Star Trek ties are very strong. And I grabbed the Seasons 1 through 6 of these newer versions on DVD a while back, last year, the year before, whenever they were coming out. There was a sale going on, but for some reason Season 7 wasn't included in that sale when I got those other ones. So I just kind of waited around, and then Season 7 I found a copy on sale, so I was able to grab that. From the Best of the 80s line, these are cool because some of them are, there's only like 3 of them that I want, and this is the second of the 3, and there's one more that I'm missing. Best of the 80s, this is the Miami Vice one, and I like these because they are little samples of popular TV shows from the 80s that wouldn't necessarily be shows that I would want like a complete setup. I would never sit and watch like the entirety of Miami Vice. No way. Another one, Knight Rider, is the one that I'm still missing. With Hasselhoff. And again, it's 8 episodes on 2 discs, but this has a few from seasons 1, 2, and then it has 1 each from season 3, 4, and 5, and that's including the pilot. And that's kind of what I want for these type of shows. And the same thing with some older, more classic, like 50s and 60s and into the 70s collections of, there's like the TV Guide collections. There's ones that have TV's Greatest Moms, and it'll have 1 episode of Roseanne, 1 episode of The Cosby Show, 1 episode of Bewitched or something. It'll be a collection of that kind of stuff to where you can relive TV from a previous era without really going all in and getting like these complete sets of shows that you really just want to revisit a couple episodes every once in a while. There are shows like that where it's like, I'd love to check out an episode of that show randomly, but yeah, being able to do that and still have a physical media copy and doesn't take up a lot of shelf space, that's always a benefit rather than going for complete sets. Next thing is Chopping Mall, which is a fun, cheesy 80s horror movie. I'm not a huge horror guy. I don't have a crazy horror collection, but there are a few out there that for some reason just kind of clicked with me when I saw them. Some are really good classic horror movies, and other ones are just kind of cheap stuff. Like Sleepaway Camp. I love Sleepaway Camp. They just like that, and things like Chopping Mall. There are a handful of these cheesy 80s B horror movies that for some reason just kind of clicked with me when I first saw them as a kid. Probably ones that I would find at the video store and rent, that I have some memories with, and not necessarily fantastic movies, but just fun. So that's a fun 80s horror movie. I haven't seen this since VHS, like since I was a kid, so this will be really cool to revisit. I just remember really liking it, and I've seen who did it was Red Letter Media or someone that showed up on one of those type of shows on YouTube where they review those kind of movies. So I think it was Red Letter Media one, like an older one. So it kind of reminded me of it. And the last things are a few Hayley Mills Disney ones. These are the last Hayley Mills Disney movies that we're looking for to get all the Disney movies that she was in. Some of the ones that aren't necessarily going to be the most common, the ones that everyone will know. Like The Parent Trap, obviously, is like the #1 Hayley Mills Disney movie. First, we have In Search of the Castaways. Not one of my favorites of the bunch, but definitely still a fun adventure flick, and is very reminiscent of a lot of different Disney family adventure movies of the era that it was made in. I really like a lot of the live action Disney of the 60s and 70s. I think they did so many great movies in that time, and those were also like, I feel like Disney was stronger with the live action shows during the decades where they were a little bit weaker in a lot of their animation. I think like earlier Disney, the animation was clearly superior to anything live action, and then you had a period where I think a lot of the live action was better, and then starting with like Little Mermaid, you have Disney just kind of like just exploding with amazing animation. So, but I think it's from a time period that I really enjoy in Disney's catalog. Summer Magic, just a really, really charming picture. Definitely just a fun sit down. I always really like that one. And one of my favorite Hayley Mills movies, probably maybe my second favorite behind The Parent Trap. I mean, Parent Trap by far my favorite, but one that I feel is just like forgotten. Like, no, I can't remember. Even Amanda, who grew up in like her house, she used to call, she would say her house was the church of Star Trek and Disney. Those were like the two things that were in her household. It's what she always says. I grew up in the church of Star Trek and Disney, and she's never seen The Moon Spinners, and I feel like most people have never seen The Moon Spinners. I've never heard anyone talk about this movie ever, and it's fantastic. And it feels like it's completely forgotten because a lot of these were released on VHS and Laserdisc, and eventually a DVD, and some of them even have a Blu-ray through the Disney like movie club. And like The Moon Spinners was pretty late to come to DVD. It doesn't have a Blu-ray or anything like that, and it's a far less common. It's just not a movie that you really find, and it's great because it's not the typical movie that I would associate Hayley Mills and Disney, like those two words together. You think of The Parent Trap, you think of That Darn Cat, or Trouble with Angels, or like Summer Magic, that kind of thing. The Moon Spinners has a very different feel. It honestly feels like if Hitchcock was hired to make a family-friendly Disney movie. That's what it feels like. It involves Hayley Mills playing a character who goes with her aunt on vacation to Crete, and they encounter another gentleman there who is wrapped up in a mysterious plot involving a jewel heist. And I won't go any further than that to reveal anything, but even the setup alone, it's not as silly and comical as that could be from Disney of this time period. You'd think there'd be a little more of a silly flair. You could almost hear like Don Knotts showing up and giving it that sort of tone, but it never does that. It actually has a few more serious, dramatic moments. The tone, again, feels like a family-friendly version of a Hitchcock film. Like, that's what it reminds me the most of. Like, I don't know, I was recently rewatching Vertigo and North by Northwest, and maybe it's just kind of in my mind, but I feel like that little bit of that vibe in here for some reason with Moon Spinners, just obviously more, toned down. But fantastic movie. The Moon Spinners is definitely one of the better Hayley Mills films, and then definitely in their Disney catalog in like the top 2 for me. So those were the most recent additions to our own collections, and if you missed it, I had a crazy media haul a few days ago for our online stores, and I have a huge bin now of sealed DVDs up in the store, like so much more than we would normally find. Really crazy. It's been a great week. Hope you're having a good week, and have a great weekend.